This is the last page in the 1-1e lesson on operations with fractions. Explain in words how to simplify 2/9 divided by 4/15. We'll set up the problem. So now we're going into division. Step 1, we'll write out the steps and then we'll practice the steps. We are going to flip the second fraction and change to multiplication. That is the most important step with this. And it actually has two parts. Flip the second fraction and replace division with multiplication. Step 2 is going to be to cross cancel. Step 3 is then, after you've cross canceled, multiply across, like we did on the previous page. And if you've cross canceled, then you shouldn't need to do step 4. That's the benefit. But we're going to put it because you might have missed it. Maybe you forgot to do it. And it's always good to just double check that you've simplified fully. All right, so first step is we're going to put equals, and it's 2/9 times. So we changed it from division to multiplication. And we are going to flip this. I might even highlight that, right? That is the critical part to this. Next, we're going to redo the steps from the previous page. We're going to look to cross cancel diagonally. 2 goes into 2 one time and into 4 twice. 9 doesn't go into 15, but there is a number that goes into 9 that also goes into 15. 1 doesn't really help or count. 5 goes into 15 but doesn't go into 9. How about 3? 3 goes into 9 3 times and into 15 5 times. And then we're going to multiply across. 1 times 5 is 5, and 3 times 2 is 6. So this should be fully simplified, but just double check that it does look, and it is in fact simplified. Number 13. Feel free to pause the video right now or replay that. Even if you think I'm not going to choose cross canceling, hopefully you're taking some careful notes on that so you understand it, even though you might opt to just focus more on simplifying. And as I do problems, I will be doing cross canceling on most of them. Number 13, 1/3 divided by 4 2/3. What do we notice? Well, it's a division problem. And so it's probably going to have some of the same steps as the last one. Unlike the last one, though, I see what is known as a mixed number here. So step 1 is going to be change all fractions to improper. Step 2 is going to be what we had previously, which is flip the second fraction and change to multiplication. Step 3, we'll look for opportunities to cross cancel. We have to do this at step 3 if we are going to do this, and we're going to practice this on a lot of them. So just be careful that you're not cross canceling prior to changing to improper and flipping, which is also called taking the reciprocal. Reciprocal. Flipping a fraction is known as taking the reciprocal. And step 4 after cross canceling will be multiply across And step 5 is simplify. All right, let's practice this. It's going to involve a few more steps. First thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to set up this problem, which is that everything is going to stay the same except for the numerator. And considering that these are the trickiest, I would not try to combine these steps. So right now I'm going to keep this division. I'm not flipping anything yet, and I'm just going to change this to improper. 4 times 3 is 12, plus 2 is 14. That was the only thing I did in that step. Between each line of work, whether if you're going horizontal, I'm going to separate by equal sign, or you could do vertical. You just got to make sure you have enough room. Next step, I'm going to flip the second fraction. I'm going to keep the first one, times dot. That's very important. And we're going to flip it to 3/14. Yikes. 3 times 14 looks messy. I'm going to look diagonally for cross-canceling. 1 does go into 14, but that's not going to change anything. So I'll look at the other diagonal. And 3 goes into 3 once and into 3 once. And we multiply across. 1 times 1 is 1, and 1 times 14 is 14. That is fully simplified. Be careful, there should be a 1 in the numerator. Sometimes people want to make this answer just be 14. It's 1/14. Feel free to pause the video there. But if you're ready, we're going to look at 3 more problems. 14, we're going to divide the fractions and now practice this technique. And I would suggest looking at the steps above. 14a, first step is to change to improper. We get to skip those steps. By the way, you might say, which steps should I look at? I would suggest just looking at the steps that we wrote out for 13, and then you get to skip a step if you notice that it doesn't apply. Next step, we are going to rewrite this as multiplication, and we're going to flip the second fraction. Then we're going to look for cross-cancel opportunities. 3 and 4, a number that goes into 3 and 4, well, only 1. They don't have any common factors. 20 and 15. 15 doesn't go into 20, but they do have something in common. They're both divisible by 5. 5 goes into 20 4 times and into 15 3. And now we will multiply across. 3 times 3 is 9. 4 times 4 is 16. And double check that that is fully simplified. And it is. B, step 1 was changed to improper. For 5, we just put it over 1. Done. Next step is we're going to flip the second fraction. So we'll keep the first one the same. We're going to change to multiplication. And we're going to flip this to, or take the reciprocal and make it 1/5. Diagonally, we're looking for cross-cancel opportunities like 2 and 5. Well, 2 doesn't go into 5 without a remainder, so that doesn't work. 1 and 5, that doesn't change. So we're going to just multiply across. 2 times 1 is 2. 5 times 5 is 25. And that should be fully simplified. And it is in the last one. First step is we're going to change to improper. And as we think, we could even just copy the denominators down, because those are going to stay the same. 4 times 5 is 20, plus 2 is 22. So we're just rewriting these fractions. 1 times 10 is 10, plus 1 is 11. Next step is we're going to keep the first fraction the same. We're going to change to multiplication and flip the second. Now we'll look for cross-cancel opportunities, because 22 times 10 seems kind of crazy. 11 goes into itself and into 22 2 times. And 5 and 10. those become a 1 and a 2. And we'll multiply across. 2 times 2 is 4, and 1 times 1 is 1. If it has a 1 in the denominator, we get rid of that. So that was dividing fractions, definitely a little bit trickier. Slow and steady, don't try to combine steps would be my suggestion. Otherwise, you're going to find that you're going to have to do a problem a couple of times. And cross-canceling, maybe circling the leftovers, maybe color coding them, and really thinking about how many times 5 goes into 10 and making sure that you write this number carefully and correctly, and maybe referencing your times table if that's helpful.